Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. In today's video, you're going to see my best game ever on my free-to-play account. Now, what exactly is my free-to-play account? It's an account I started in 2018 with a goal to never spend any money on the account. I haven't spent anything, haven't accepted any gifts from all of you in the community, haven't activated any bonus codes that aren't available for publicly, that everybody can be able to get their hands on, because that would kind of defeat the point of a free-to-play account. Now, I started this account back in 2018 because it was suggested to me that I didn't really know what the new player experience was like. And while, of course, I can't ever go and get a new player experience again, short of kind of like using one of those Men in Black devices to wipe my brain, what I can do is start a new account without all of the paid advantages that I have on my main. And it's taught me so much about the differences between the pay-to-win aspects of this game and also of the free-to-play aspects of this game. And honestly, these days, I'd say it's so much easier to play this game for free than it was when I first started playing World of Tanks in 2010 in the closed beta and 2011 when the game was released. So today, the tank that is going to get me the best result ever on this account is possibly one of the least free-to-play tanks available when you think about it. This is the Lion. It was available in the assembly shop, and it's pretty much just a better Progetto 65, especially considering that the Progetto 65 has been nerfed. Now, you might be asking, how did you get this on your free-to-play account? Well, I spent 500,000 free experience, 8,000 bonds, and some blueprints. Didn't have to spend any gold, nothing of the sort. Just one of the best purchases I've ever made on this account. Now, how did I get 500,000 free experience? Well, I got 500,000 free experience by playing the game, sweating, and never spending any free experience on stock tanks. One of the most fun things about playing this account, when I say fun isn't really the word. I think fun for my Twitch audience, maybe or possibly, is playing stock tanks, like playing a Moistion without the tracks, without the engine, without the gun, and not actually spending any free experience. Because at the end of the day, if I start spending free experience, then what am I even really doing? I might as well just be on my main account and just not using any premium consumables, which I've never used on this account. And not using premium consumables definitely puts me at a disadvantage. Without the premium consumable, I'm like 5% worse, just overall everything about the tank, pretty much. However, on autoloaders or auto-reloaders in the case of the Lion, on the free-to-play, you can't actually improve the intra-clip reload. And so, autoloaders, I'd say, are probably one of the better free-to-play tanks inside the game, because while you will have better DPM from using a premium consumable, you won't have better intra-clip reload. So the Lion feels awesome from that perspective. So, I basically had to grind, let's think. Oh gosh, it's actually quite a lot of experience to get 500,000 free experience free to play in World of Tanks. You get 5,000 for every 100,000 that you grind. So 500,000 is going to be 500,000 times by 20 effectively, because you're getting like 1 free experience for every 20 experience that you get in that kind of a ratio. So I had to grind 10 million regular experience to be able to get that 500,000 free experience. So gosh, when I think about it like that, 10 million regular experience that I had to grind. Although, to be fair, quite often you can be able to get free experience from logging in and doing your daily missions. You can quite often get like 1,000 or 2,000 free experience that way, which really helps if you play the game daily, which is one of the things that I do on my free-to-play account, and I recommend for all of you free-to-play players to try and take advantage of those kind of micro advantages that you can get. And also the ability to be able to use boosters inside the game. I can't show you them here because this game isn't live, this is a recording. But, you know, those free experience boosters that you can get for participating in events, they can multiply your free experience by 100 or 200 or even 300%, which is absolutely massive. Actually, I don't think there are any 100% boosters anymore, only 200 or 300% as far as I can remember. And that can also help, which brings that 10 million down to like more of a 2 million, which isn't really that outrageous. It's kind of like grinding through a couple of lines of World of Tanks. Now, it has meant that I've had to suffer a lot on this account with all of these stock vehicles. But those stock vehicles, while they are painful in a way, That's the whole point, as I said, about the experience that I get on the free-to-play account. Please fall back, Mr. Super Conqueror, so I can go back and be able to help this FV2 on 5B before he gets swarmed by a horde of mediums and light tanks. And it definitely lowers my overall win ratio on this account, having to play those tanks stock. Every time I play a stock tier 9, I'm getting like 50% wins. Every time I'm playing an upgraded tier 9, I'm usually getting on average 60 or 70% wins, depending on the tank. And so if any of you out there are playing your tank stock and you're feeling bad with having like a 30-40% win ratio, don't. It definitely gets much, much, much better when you upgrade the tank. And if it doesn't, you should probably be questioning what you're doing. And so while getting the Lion freeze to play, or free to play, has definitely caused a lot of pain and suffering overall on the account, it's been totally worth it, if just for this game today. So what you've seen me do so far is basically make sure we're never firing the 4th shell, apart from once against that VZ55, but that was because I had the opportunity to cripple an important tank and to make them a one-shot for me. Because if you fire that 4th shot on the Lion, it takes 21 seconds to reload, compared to 8 seconds for reloading the penultimate shell on this vehicle. And so the Lion is kind of meant to be played as an auto-reloader, which only has 3 shells. The 4th shell is purely for emergency purposes. And so you should never fire that 4th shell unless you've got, unless you know you've got a lot of downtime, or even just securing a kill. Although I have noticed a few times that sometimes I don't fire that shell and it puts me in a worse situation later on. For example, if I allow a tank to be more than a one-shot and they're an autoloader, like a VZ55, that would be in a horrible scenario. So just because that final shell does put you down on damage per minute doesn't mean that you shouldn't use it. So we've just been back and forth using really good awareness of our enemy's capabilities and good awareness of our tank as well to pick up 6,500 damage and 4 kills. And on Lakeville, when I've got the kind of mobility, I tell this T125 to fall back, then I can help him. You can see I'm getting a bit excited as I do all caps there in chat. I'm hoping that what the E5 will do in this scenario is drop back to here, and then I could be able to snipe from the safety of the bush. But seeing how the E5 isn't going to do that, and seeing how we're down by 2,500 hit points, I felt like I had to get forwards to be able to help this T125. Unfortunately, he does what I wanted him to do, just now that I'm in a position where I'm no longer able to snipe from the back. But thankfully, with 9 degrees of gun depression on this tank and decent turret armor, we should be able to go hold down against this Leopard prototype. Huge misplay there by the Leopard prototype to come around the corner, losing a couple of shots. I really don't want to get caught here, otherwise I'm going to die. But luckily, with them firing at my T125, I should be able to get forwards. But uh-oh, that's a scary tank. I don't think I want to go backwards anymore because the Jaegeru might get a lucky shot, so I'm just going to hold my position against the Leopard prototype and see what this full health German tank destroyer is going to do. By not going here as well, I also can create a crossfire with the T125. I'm keeping an eye on the Jaegeru while holding down my right mouse button to lock my turret towards the Leopard. So the Jaegeru goes after the E5, and right now I have to try and pressure this Leopard prototype, and he makes a big misplay by coming around the corner. Now I can be able to turn my attention to the Jagdpanzer 100, and you'll see that I made a full switch from armor piercing to APCR rounds, which I hardly ever have to fire on this tank, but it's not every day that you're up to 8,000 damage. You'll see, why don't you fire the 4th shell? Because I'll have way worse damage per minute, and I won't be able to keep the shell held for this EBR who comes over. Now I'm going to shoot the EBR here, and oh my word, what was that? And just so you can all see how janky the game is sometimes, let's watch that shot on the EBR-90 in I think 32 or 16 times slow motion. We're going to fire about now. Literally just goes straight through the turret. What a joke. And from a different angle, yeah, I mean, I guess this game isn't quite Star Wars, right? But I'd say that would be a lightsaber kill. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Okay, so after seeing that ghost shell, now I'm in a precarious situation, aiming at the Jagdpanzer 100, finish off their lower plate. My gosh, let's hope that that ghost shell is not going to come back to haunt us in this game. Now up to 8,400 damage, 2,000 assistance, 6 kills. Man, I have to admit, I was starting to sweat a little bit here. I've got 8 APCR shells left, which is more than enough. It's lovely that this tank carries a huge amount of ammunition. So not only do you have enough for your AP rounds, you've got enough for your APCR rounds, again, which I hardly ever dip into, because the standard rounds on this tank have got 258 millimeters of pen, which is usually more than enough. And I can even take 5 HE rounds for, you know, when you're engaging against those lightly armored targets. Although I don't have intuition yet, I don't believe on this crew, and so doing a full switch to HE is not really too viable. So I'm thinking about dropping back to go after the EBR, who's clearly going to try and flank us and try and shoot up in the bushes up there now inside the cap circle. But maybe my APCR rounds will be able to go through against this T110E3 with 323 millimeters of pen. I pretty much got like maybe a 1 in 4 chance of being able to go through here, but the E3 fired. And now I think he's got a reload of about 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and luckily for me, I managed to get the side of the T110E3. I give the E5 a thank you for taking some of the pressure off me, and now I'm telling him to come. Because if he gets into the cap circle, and we're both inside the cap circle within 50 seconds of the enemy, then we should be able to cap before them. So it's close, it's really close, but I had about 10 seconds of cap, and there we can see. You can see at the top now that we're capping 8 seconds before the enemy, which means that we have enough time to be able to fully cap out. As long as you've got more than 5 seconds, it won't be a draw. But if you've only got 5 seconds, then it will be a draw in that scenario. So use that knowledge to be able to make the most informed decision you can. And it looks like the enemy EBR is going to be bombing it towards us. I think they're coming down the middle. I don't think they'll be going through the valley. I'm just hoping that they're not going to high roll some kind of HE shell or do something really jaxy like set me on fire in this scenario, but I actually have a fire extinguisher, so that will help me out. But oh my lord, the EBR actually flanked my E5. Not only does he flank him, he finishes them off, and now I'm in a stressy situation. I'm not going to chase this EBR because if I leave the cap circle, he might run, and then I can't win the game anymore. So instead I'm going to hold my position, put one into them, put them down to a one shot. We're going to follow it up with another shot that doesn't go my way, and now I was feeling a little bit stressed with only 1 shell left. Actually 2 shells. I got 2 shells in this tank, but now I made a big misplay. I fired panicked shots there, and I've only got 1 more with no opportunity to reload. But hopefully that was a very dangerous situation that I was in, meaning that I take down one of my favorite carries of all time across both accounts, but definitely my favorite game ever free to play. And boy, was that a relief after I will fully admit I had some adrenaline going and some shaky aim there at the end of the battle. I was really worried that that ghost shell that we had on the EBR 90 was going to come back to haunt me, and I think this would have probably haunted my dreams in the form of nightmares if I hadn't managed to take this one down. Nevertheless, over 9,000 damage and 8 kills. Let's go. This was a feels good moment for the free to play. With an ace tanker for our 1,708 base experience, that's mental for a tier 10. Higher than anyone has uploaded in a Lion on the entirety of the patch on the What Replays website. It's also a top 50 experience game of the patch in any tier 10 tank, with those oak kills getting us a Radley Walters and a high caliber for the 9,000 damage. And boy, I spent a lot of credits on ammunition here, but I didn't do it willingly. I fired pretty much all of my armor piercing rounds that I had, and then I just had to dip into those emergency rounds that I would only usually use if I knew I was going to have to shoot a few rounds into heavies. But when you run out of AP because you've had to do 6,000-7,000 damage, you don't really have too much choice. And we still made 7,000 credits. Definitely not a lot. But when you're free to play, every little helps. And I can tell you, this Lion, I have zero regrets of dumping all of my free experience to be able to pick this one up. Totally worth playing a stock Moistion, even though when I am playing the stock Moistion, it kind of doesn't feel worth it. And with Wargaming kind of ramping up this assembly shop shenanigans, I would actually suggest to any of you players out there to really think about how you spend free experience in World of Tanks. Do you think it's really worth like getting that 1 extra crew skill when you could dump the free experience into being able to get a special tank inside the assembly shop, for example? And if you can manage to suffer through about 5 tier 9 tanks without actually spending any free experience, then you would have had that to be able to get yourself the entirety of a tier 10 that may or may not come back. On the other hand, don't listen to me. I'm like the Scrooge McDuck of World of Tanks, trying to get me to spend gold or free experience on my free to play account. You got more likelihood of getting blood from a stone. So if those tier 9 stock grinds are too much for you, you know what? Just go for it anyway. Because to all intents and purposes, a tank like this, it may never come again. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was my best game ever on my free-to-play account. Really hope you enjoyed this tense battle. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Monday, I'm going to be streaming with new drops, so I can hopefully get you those final tokens that you need to get the TOG or 3 other tier 6 tanks for free, or maybe just come along and pick up some premium time or 5 times experience if you haven't seen what all the drops are about. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.